The Dyatlov Pass Files, the cold truth behind the unsolved mountain mystery. February 1959. Deep in the icy Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 hikers vanished into the frozen night, leaving behind a mystery that has outlived empires. Their tent ripped open from the inside, their bodies scattered barefoot, frozen in impossible poses. No witnesses, no answers, only silence. What force could drive 9 experienced hikers to flee into a storm that promised only death? Tonight, we open the Dyatlov Pass Files and listen to what the cold still remembers. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the strangest and most enduring mysteries in modern history. Over 6 decades later, scientists, soldiers, and skeptics still debate what happened on that mountain. Some claim an avalanche. Others whisper of secret weapons and experiments gone wrong. But before we chase the unknown, we must first know the known. The 9 souls who walked willingly into the jaws of the unknown. Igor Dyatlov, 23. Brilliant engineer. The leader. Zinaida Kolmogorova, the spirit of the team. Fearless, warm-hearted. Rustam Slobodin, the athlete. Always first to face a challenge. Lyudmila Dubinina. Outspoken, determined, tough as steel. 9 young dreamers. 9 minds full of promise. On January 25, 1959, they boarded a train from Sverdlovsk, heading toward the icy peaks of Mount Otorten. In their journals, they wrote of jokes, songs, and endless laughter. None of them knew that these pages would become evidence, not memories. As they climbed higher, the mountain turned against them. Wind howled. Snow blinded their eyes. The compass needles began to tremble, erratic, confused. Still, Igor Dyatlov insisted they camp on the slope that night. The locals had another name for it, Kolytsayakl, the mountain of the dead. Inside their tent, they laughed, shared stories, snapped photographs, moments of warmth in a world of ice. But sometime after midnight, the laughter stopped. The wind grew louder, wilder, until something else tore through the night. We may never know what. What we do know is that 9 people ripped through their tent from the inside and ran barefoot into minus 30 degrees Celsius cold. Weeks later, rescue teams reached the site. Their tent, half buried, slashed open from within. Footprints trailed into the forest, steady, human, and calm, before vanishing. Beneath a cedar tree, 2 bodies lay beside the remains of a small fire. Barefoot, branches above them were broken, as if someone had climbed in terror or in search of something. Their hands were burned, their faces strangely calm. 100 meters away, 3 more were found, crawling toward the tent. Searchers knew the remaining 4 were still out there, buried deeper beneath the snow. And what they would find next would defy every explanation. If you were in that tent, would you have stayed or run? What theory makes the most sense to you? Avalanche, experiment, or something unearthly? Why were their eyes missing? Why were they calm, not terrified?
Soldiers, geologists, even radiation specialists. Why radiation? No one could say for sure. But whispers spread that this wasn't just a hiking tragedy, it was something darker. On March 5th, they found the remaining 4. But what they discovered would shake the searchers to their core. Buried beneath 4 meters of snow, the last 4 hikers lay in a ravine. One had a crushed skull, another shattered ribs. Yet there were no external wounds. No signs of struggle. Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her eyes. The medical report read, death by massive internal trauma, comparable to a car crash. But what car crash happens on an empty mountain? The official theory? An avalanche. But the evidence didn't fit. The slope was too shallow, the injuries too bizarre. Then came the second theory, a military experiment gone wrong. Locals had reported glowing orange spheres in the sky on the night of the tragedy. Were the hikers witnesses to something they weren't meant to see? Or victims of nature's perfect storm? In their recovered camera, one photo stood out, a blurred image of glowing lights above the trees. Investigators labeled it inconclusive. Some called it proof. Others, coincidence. Their clothing showed radiation traces, yet none of them worked near radioactive materials. The case files were marked top secret. For 30 years, the truth remained sealed behind Soviet walls. Why were they barefoot in the snow? Why did they tear open their tent from the inside? Why were some of them running back toward it? Theories tried to fill the silence. Radiation, infrasound panic, Yetis, even extraterrestrials. But none could explain the calm expressions on their faces, or the feeling that they were escaping something unseen. By May 1959, the Soviet government closed the investigation. The conclusion, a compelling natural force. A phrase that meant nothing and explained even less. Families demanded truth. They were told to stop asking. The site was sealed. The mountain renamed. But truth, like the wind, always finds cracks to whisper through. Decades later, the Dyatlov Pass still calls to the curious, scientists, journalists, truth seekers. Each year, new theories rise and fall. Each year, the mountain keeps its silence. But the cold remembers, and the truth still waits. If you found those photos, would you show them to the world or hide them forever? What's your theory, avalanche or cover-up? Should this case be reopened today? Do you think all 9 died the same night?
In 1990, decades after the tragedy, a retired Soviet investigator agreed to speak. His name was Lev Ivanov, the man who led the original Dyatlov investigation. He confessed. There were details in this case that I could not include in the official report, glowing objects in the sky and military interest. Ivanov claimed that higher officials forced him to remove evidence, including radiation data and classified test coordinates. When asked if he believed it was an accident, he simply replied, "No, not an accident. Something we still can't explain." At the time of the Dyatlov expedition, the Soviet military conducted classified missile tests across the Ural Mountains. Locals remembered seeing orange fireballs moving silently through the sky. Were these experimental weapons or something else? The hiker's last camera roll, frame 33, captured a glowing streak cutting across the horizon. That photo was never officially explained. And in their tent, investigators found something else. A single note, scribbled in pencil. "We now know that the snowmen exist." Decades later, scientists propose a different theory. Infrasound panic. When wind passes through the slopes of the Ural Mountains at the right angle, it can generate frequencies below the range of human hearing. These vibrations cause intense panic, nausea, and hallucinations without warning. Imagine being trapped in darkness, your body in chaos, your mind screaming run. They slashed the tent open from the inside, fleeing the invisible terror, into a storm colder than death. In 2019, Russian investigators reopened the case. New technology, drones, satellite imaging, all pointed to a single conclusion: a small avalanche, triggered by snow pressure and wind. But even then, the injuries, the fear, the radiation, none of it added up. The official conclusion changed nothing. The mystery was alive again. The Dyatlov Pass is quiet now. No footsteps, no tents, no laughter, only the wind carrying stories. Maybe it was nature, maybe it was man, maybe something that didn't belong to either. But on that mountain, one truth endures. Once you step into the unknown steps into you. 60 years later, the Dyatlov hikers are remembered not as victims, but as explorers who sought to touch the edge of mystery itself. If the truth still hides beneath that snow, maybe it's waiting for someone brave enough to listen. This was the Dyatlov Pass Files, the case that never melts. I'm your narrator. This is the Heavy Case Files Prime. Stay curious, stay awake, and remember, the mountain never forgets. Subscribe for the next investigation, coming soon